What is up, guys? It's Mason once again, and we'll be doing a quick analysis of my round 1 to round 3 games. But before we get into it, I want you guys to know that I want to try and do a documentary type of review concerning the tournament. So I'll get deeper into like the background of things, like how I prepared, what was going through my mind, so on and so forth. Rather than just analyzing the games, I want you to have an idea of what I went through to get to this point, and maybe to help you guys. So if you're excited to see that, you can always drop a like, you can always comment, you can subscribe, so that whenever I drop that video, you'll be able to see it. But without further ado, let's get into the game. So this is the 2024 Nationals. To win or to qualify for the phase 2, I need to get at least 6 points, right? So we play 3 rounds a day, and each round is 60 plus 30, right? So my first opponent, I'm playing as black, and I'm playing against a new guy, right? Unrated person. I think the name is Odoi Wellington. So going into this, I have no idea of this guy. There's nothing to go on of who he is or what kind of player he is. But I'm guessing that within the first like 10 moves, I'll get a feel for who he is. So we go d4. He goes d4. I'm playing as black here. Mind you, these are just like my raw thoughts. I literally like got home like 10 minutes ago and I booted up the recording. So I haven't gone through the games. So d4, d5, and my opponent goes for c4, Queen's Gambit. So the moment he goes Queen's Gambit, like you've heard so many times in my streams, I raised his rating in my head. Okay, that he's kind of like a decent player. Okay, so I go e6, knight f3, h6. This is something that Magnus Carlsen usually plays. You don't want this annoying pressure with the bishop coming in here. It is quite a slow move, but it's worth it. I mean, for me personally, it's worth it fighting against this annoying bishop. My opponent goes knight to c3. Bishop to b4, a3, we trade, knight to c3, bishop to f4, knight to f6, e3, and knight to e4, and then queen to c2. So in this position, my opponent after the game told me that he was kind of angry with himself for allowing this, but personally I didn't think there was anything wrong with my opponent's position. To be frank, I thought I was the one who was struggling here. I was wondering when exactly he was going to capture and what I would do if he did capture. Should I go f4? But f4 hasn't really gone well for me in the past. Like even during my streams, f4 doesn't go well for me trying to hold this guy because there's always knight here with f3. So I wasn't feeling very comfortable with the position. So I was kind of thinking here that what should I do? And there were 2 options that were ringing in my head. Castles or g5. G5 was not so much attractive because of how loose my king was going to be. And castles did not look attractive because I wasn't so sure what was going to happen here. So I thought for about like 10 minutes, 15 minutes here. And my main point is it worth it putting the pressure on my opponent and letting him do the thinking than for me to consider all these what if scenarios that would happen and try and like weather the storm as they come. So after thinking for a while, I settled on g5. I decided I wanted to push the envelope. And normally when you're pushing the envelope, your opponent has the chance to like mess up. So my opponent goes bishop to g3. I go h5. And here I expected a move like h4. But then my idea paid off. My opponent went h3. And now I know that the position is okay. Like, it's okay for me. I go knight takes, pawn takes. And here I make a move thinking it was right. But it was wrong. I went queen here. And my point is, I'm putting pressure here and I'm forcing my opponent to defend with the king. Forgetting that he does not have to defend with the king. He can defend with the queen, which he does. Now, you're going to notice a very common theme with all my games today. And it's something I'll talk about at length during the documentary style like analysis video. So really sticking for that. I really want you guys to watch that. You kind of understand why my games go the way they go, right? Sometimes people wonder why I mess up, it's a certain problem off the board that I haven't solved yet. And it's not just a problem for me in chess, it's a problem for me in life. And it attacks me in everything that I do, right? So it's something we have to talk about. It's the psychological part of chess, let's put it that way. So in this position, I look at the position and I'm like, okay, my king is not safe and I want my king to be safe. So I want to castle. I'm 2 moves away from castling. Do I defend this guy with this or this? Or do I allow him to take and use that time to like develop and castle? And if anything at all, yes, it might be a bad position, but my opponent has ended up opening the file, right? So for example, here, don't worry, you understand where the issue is coming from very soon. You understand it very soon. Here, and I thought my opponent had to go back. Don't worry. This was how my mind was calculating. I am letting you go through what my mind was calculating. This is what I calculated, and I was fine here. So I was like, okay, there's nothing my opponent can do that will make bishop to d2, d7 bad. So I played it. And then my opponent takes. And the moment my opponent takes, I realized that now the point of bringing the knight back here is so that now I have access to this. But then I suddenly realized that my opponent can go c5, ending the whole plan. And I'm like, okay, yeah, right. Okay, I know what has happened. Like the moment I saw this, I was like, it's begun. And I know exactly what I'm talking about. I was like, yes, it's begun. So I already I'm starting to expect how this tournament is going to go. Okay, my opponent. So after I realize it, I also see this fact that there's a problem here. And I play f3. Point being, if my opponent takes, I do have this. Right? That was what my idea was. But my opponent went c5. I went queen to e7. He jumps back, and then I go e5. And here we simply develop a bit. And after some trades, I'm fine. Right? I escaped the worst of it. I'm still down a pawn, but I'm fine. These guys are weaknesses, right? Especially this pawn is a weakness. This guy is a weakness. This guy is a potential weakness. So I have so many things I can target. I just don't know how I will target them. Right? Here my opponent could castle, but then he played the move king to d2. He didn't want to lose the pawn. Sometimes you have to lose the extra pawn to gain activity. And the moment he played his king here, an idea struck my mind. And it was an idea with the bishop coming in and the queen supporting the whole idea. But the problem for me was which one should come first. Engine says bishop to go first. I played queen to go first, and the engine didn't like that, which is fine. Knight to h4, and I played king to b8 because I saw a very annoying line with queen to f5 check, and I would have to trade off. Again, that line wasn't bad, but for some reason I thought it was bad, which is why I played this move. My opponent plays the rook there. I play a6. Remember what my plan is, but then my opponent stops it. He goes queen to f3, and I play this move. So now we trade and enter into this endgame. And yes, I know the moment I mentioned endgame, the long-time viewers of this channel know what's about to happen, right? I didn't know what to do, but I felt I could handle the pressure. Sorry, I felt I could handle the position. So my opponent actually makes a mistake here. I expected him to take here. I literally expected my opponent to take here, but he took here, which I felt was very wrong. So I went rook takes. He brought his king in, and I have every opportunity to simply play c6 and defend this pawn, because I was saying to myself, had he taken this pawn, my position is bad. I had every opportunity, but I blanked out and went this way. So now my opponent takes it. I go back, preventing him from pushing. He goes attacking my pawn. I take, he goes back, and then I align here, and then he blocks. And now I am scared. This position should be a draw, but I am scared. Why? Because he has an outside passport, and I don't know how I'll deal with it. For all you know, it's not necessary to even worry about this pawn. But because I suck so much at end games, the moment I see my opponent having a passed pawn, my mind is all of, oh, that pawn is going to promote and I can't stop it. Because I've had so many examples of me not able to stop a passed pawn. I'm hitting my mic a lot, but sorry about that. So because of that fear, we'll get to it. I play f5. f5 was the only move I saw. My opponent takes, I take, which was a mistake from my opponent. And now the engine gives me a winning position, a winning evaluation. But I am so scared of this gap that I take. And now it's a draw, which is fine. I mean, I messed up in the opening, which is fine. My opponent goes in with the king. I start bringing my king in. And I don't know if my annotation here is wrong, but if this annotation is right, I will be pissed off. My opponent goes in check. I come in this way, and then he goes this way. And now I'm winning. I cannot for the life of me figure this out. Now, was it here? Yes, I played a5. My opponent comes in with check. And I did not see it. In case I wonder why the engine is saying I'm winning, the move is here. Now, I did see this move, but this was my mind. Rook, king takes, rook takes, right? Then, what was it? Yes, rook here. Again, it's a check. Don't worry about it. Rook here, and then my opponent would take. And after rook takes and I have the pawn, my opponent can draw the game. So that was my mind. My mindset was that that's what was going to happen. Forgetting that, I actually had an idea of even, for example, let's say my opponent came in here. I had an example of even this. Sorry. Takes, maybe this is still a draw, but takes here, check. King moves, I don't know where, but then takes. Actually, still can take. Okay, so yeah, I messed that up as well. But the engine gives me some evaluation. Again, like I said, I've not analyzed the game. But when I was looking at it, as I was typing it in, I was like, wait, I could have cleared that. But actually, I was wrong. So yeah, I messed this up. I'll have to go and study the game and find out why this is winning. But yeah, another game messed up. So I had chances. Fine, I got a good opening. I had chances. I messed it up. Let's move on to the next game. We're taking too much time on the game. So this is just game one. So it ended up in a draw. Okay, now we are in for game two. I had to make a cut there because the page was not loading properly. Now I'm playing against the founder of the Brilliant Chess Academy, Maxwell Kwesi Poha. And I'm playing as white. And we've had this kind of like friendly banter on his BCA page about how good the landing is. So I told him I was going to play the landing. I mean, who else did not expect I was going to play the landing? And he was playing as black, so it's like, okay, let's see if the landing can hold up to its name. D4, D5, bishop F4, knight F6, E3, C5. Now, this thing, especially on the BCA page, has something that has been talked about for quite a while, that C5 destroys the landing. So I'll go into this further. I'll go into further detail about this in the documentary video. But in that whole spot, I was secretly preparing against C3. I was preparing against C3 because people keep talking about how C3 destroys the landing. And I was like, okay, I have to prove a point. And when I said I prepared, people think I prepared like 10, 15 moves deep. I simply asked myself, after knight here, what do I do? And after my opponent plays A, this was the prep. This was the prep. So I haven't gone in too deep with all these lines, but this was the prep. I know how bad this can be for white. But I was willing to take the risk to take my opponent into uncommon waters. I did see games in this position and how they went on. So I was thinking about how I would employ such ideas in my game. Fine. My opponent plays knight to C6. I play A3. A3 signifies my plan to hold on to this pawn. You don't need to hold on to this pawn. You can always give it back to your opponent as to help in your activity. But my opponent plays E5. I go bishop to G5, and already there's a threat, a very big threat, aiming down my opponent. Plays bishop to E6. I destroy his pawn structure, and then I play this move e4. E4, I think, is a bad move, and maybe I was getting a little bit too overly confident with my position. But I don't know. I was thinking that if he took, it was good for me. But when we looked at the engine after the game, taking was actually bad. Like, this move was actually bad. And maybe I did see why it was bad. Obviously, I could have played other things, but I was trying to force the issue for some reason. Another thing was I wanted to prevent any ideas here. But this is the move I played. My opponent pushes and I go knight to a4. We have queen to a5 check, and I play c3. My opponent plays d takes c3, and here I have a deep think. I could simply just go back. Like, I could just simply go knight takes. But something was not right. Something just kept on irking me about the position. And I think it was this bishop move, but I'm not so sure. Something was irking me about this position. And taking back with the knight did not seem right. The other option I had in my mind was taking with the pawn. So there was no plan for me to take with the knight. So I considered the move a little bit for quite a while. And I finally played the move b4. And the reason I calculated for a while is I just kept asking myself, what if he sacrifices the knight? That was the first thing I calculated. Like, as I'm playing this move, what if he sacrifices the knight? And actually, every move from this point on, I had calculated. Takes, queen to c2. Holding this pawn. If my opponent takes, I'm fine. You take, I take. This is an okay position. I'm now going to develop my pieces and have an okay position. My opponent then plays this move bishop, which I saw, and then I took. You can't take because of my rook, and you can't take because I take your queen. So he takes check, I come in here, he repeats, but this is key. If I came in here, I'm actually losing. So you have to be precise. And I went this way. Angel is recommending something I'm not. Wait, could I have really gone knight? No, queen d2 is fine. My opponent tries to repeat. Now, it's not a threefold because the first queen b4 move was a captures. It wasn't moving to the square. So it wasn't a threefold repetition. So queen d2, and now he decides to change it up. He's like, okay. He looks at this and is like, okay, my pieces are inactive. He has more of the activity. He's going to go for more. Queen takes, king takes, castles, king to c3. Bishop takes, and then bishop takes. And here, I saw the engine's top recommendation. It's not like I saw it, right? I knew that I could play this move. In fact, I was even calculating ideas of not playing that move and simply going knight, allowing my opponent to take, and then trying to gain the activity. These are things I was looking at. But then it happened. And again, I'll talk more about this. It happened. Similar to the first game, I see two pass pawns. I don't understand end games. And these two pawns scare me. I'm like, how can I play and deal with these two pawns? I would have to trade one of my guys for the 2 pawns. I don't see myself winning if these 2 pawns exist. So I make the express decision, coupled with the ideas that this rook can come in here, coupled with those ideas, I make the express decision to go bishop takes. Why? Takes here, because I have rook here, my opponent would have to make a move, for example, with this, which allows me to take here, and I'm having a fine position. In my mind, I don't know why the engine disagrees with me here, but there's something I'm missing. So that's what I calculated. Missing that my opponent could first play bishop d4 check, and after takes, now he gets the initiative of this move. Originally, this move wouldn't have been as scary because I would have had this, and then if pawn push, I can just simply come back. But now that he has this move, it's a problem. And I wasn't so sure how to play it. So I kept trying, traded off here, and here I think I made a mistake. I think I should have brought the knight here. But I went in this way, and Maxwell, understanding the end games, perfectly takes out my king. from the defense, like from the position. So now my king is too far from the defense of the pawn. If my king was here, this position is a draw. My king is too far, so it can't be a draw. So now I start doing these moves, trying to find a way to force my king into the position, but Maxwell is just not allowing me. Yeah, right. I get one move in, I get another move in, and just when I think I'm about to close it out, he plays this move. And in case you don't understand how annoying this move is, the rook prevents my king from entering these squares, and he's about to promote. My knight alone cannot defend against this pawn. If I play this move, he's just going to take and promote, square of the pawn. If I play this move, he's just going to go back. Even if, let's say, he allows me this, let's just say he allows me this, right? Something like this. Now my king is taking his time to come over into the position. He can simply sacrifice the rook for the knight. So there was absolutely nothing I could do here. So just so that my board doesn't look like I lost terribly, I played knight here. And the point is, if you take, I take your rook. And that was how the game ended. So Maxwell took a win off of me, but I was happy with how I played. Again, maybe the corrections I'll make is e4. E4 should not be played. I could still get the exact same variation by playing knight to a4 here. I could even play b4 here, no problem. E4 was just a little bit too aggressive, like too over ambitious. Now we go on to the final game. So here I'm half a point, and I'm playing someone who is also half a point, who is far lower than I am. He's 1529. I'm 1677. I'm sure by now I'm like 1640 something because I've had very bad results. And I'm playing as black. My opponent is quite new, so I'm expecting to win this game, right? I'm going to try my best to win this game. We go e4, d5, e takes, queen takes, knight c3, queen a5, d4, knight f6, knight f3, bishop d4, bishop e2, e6, bishop e2, e3, c6, knight e4, back. And I like this position. Remember I put this position against a-kings in the last national. This is a position I like in the Scandi. Bishop to c3, knight to d7, h3, bishop to h5, queen d2, rook to g5, a little bit over ambitious. My opponent goes this way, bishop g6, queen, and then my opponent plays queen e3. And for here, I was like, okay, wait, is this a blunder or is he trying to open up? Now, mind you, my mind is off at this point. Again, more details in that documentary. Mind you, my mind is off at this point. And I think this is a sacrifice, right? I think this is a sacrifice. That he's trying to open up the position. And I don't want to lose. But nothing else tells me that this move is a sacrifice. So I take, he plays pawn push, I come back. He plays h4, h5. He tries to step into the position. I play queen to b6. Queen goes back. I play a5. Now, queen goes back is simply because she wants to play this move, and my queen is trapped. So I see that, and I play a5. I mean, all this is fine as long as I don't castle queenside. My opponent plays bishop to b3, d3, and I castle queenside. So the moment I castle queenside, you should have seen the excitement on my opponent's face. Right? You should have seen the excitement of my opponent's face, because it's like he just realized that, oh, his opponent has blundered. He went takes, I went queen here, he took, I played king takes, then he castled. Which was his blunder, right? So he did finally like get something off me, but then in his over excitement, he plays this move. Bishop takes, queen takes, and I come in. This is not the right move. I come in here. Seems like the moves are missing. I would have to jump at some point. What? I'll try and go through this gauge from memory. Yeah, so after takes, I go take here. And the point is, if my opponent does any funny move, bishop here is checkmate, obviously. So after queen takes a2, he rightfully plays queen here. And I'm trying to find ways to attack, but I realized that check doesn't work because my opponent has queen to c2, queen to d3 here. Just so you can understand, check here, check. If he goes here, I am happy because I win the queen, but then he has this move, and I couldn't find a way to continue attacking the king over here. That was the issue I had. Anyways, so he plays queen to c2. I go here, and my point for going here is, I don't know what my opponent is going to play, but let's just make some random moves. My idea is simply this, right? And the point is, now I can go this way, because now if you block with your queen, because the king can run away, I have check, and I can take this guy. So that was my plan, right? That was my plan with the whole queen coming in this way. But then my opponent, I don't know, plays this. He plays this move. And I'm like, what? That is crazy. So I go check. My opponent comes in here, I go check. But I can't see the win. Because I looked at something like this. Like, for example, my opponent has to move, right? He moves here. If I go with my bishop right now, the king runs away. I didn't like that. I looked here and I realized that it defends... What? Yeah. I looked here and I realized that now he takes here and it defends. Again, it might still be winning. I don't know. But the point is that now if I go in this way, king comes in here and I play this move. If he comes in here, I don't have this. So I'm thinking about the position and I'm like, okay, I don't see the attack. But I just kind of tell myself that maybe this attack works. Because if I play this move, my opponent comes... Sorry. What happened? Sorry, he goes queen here. I come in this way, he goes in this here. Where I take, he comes in here. I come in this way, he comes in here. Very nice. So I realize I'm taking a risk here. And I decide to go for it, right? I go this way. And the point is, if you do take here, your queen cannot come back to defend. And I'm still threatening checkmate. My opponent takes. I come in this way. He takes. I take. And then he plays this move. Guys, this is how bad it was. Because this thing I'm showing you, I literally saw it when I got home. Whilst I was playing the game, I never saw it. Like, some people think I was joking when I said I didn't see it. I did not see a thing. I was struggling. I was really struggling. I could not see a thing. I don't know. I was just thinking, I'm about to lose. I'm sacrificing too much. My opponent is going to counter attack. I was so pressured. Right? That's in this position. I played queen takes knight. I could not for the life of me see the hanging queen. Because if I did see this queen and I took it, so I take the knight, and then my opponent goes queen here, attacking the bishop. And I start calculating. If I take this, my opponent is going to come here. If I come in here to defend, so that like my opponent can't take or something, or even if my opponent takes with his queen, I can take here with check. And I'm like, oh wait, no. If my opponent's queen takes, it's check. So I can't allow that. So how can I take this guy without repercussions? Because I have to defend the bishop. That's how I'm thinking. I want you guys to understand that this is how I'm thinking. I'm not telling you that everything that's the best. I'm telling you how I was thinking. So I looked at this position. And I offered my opponent a draw. Actually, throughout the game, my opponent was offering me a draw. Every mistake he made, he offered me a draw. Right? So I knew I was better, but I just didn't know how to figure this out. At the end of the game, I went to speak to some friends and they pointed out something so obvious. Bishop back. I could not. I could not. Because takes, check, knight jumps back. If my opponent keeps on taking, it's not a problem. I can always take this if he continues that. And the game is fine. Very disappointing round one. Very disappointing. It got worse when I actually looked at the games afterwards and saw, like, seeing what I missed. So yeah, I'm not entering the end of day one as happy as I ended the one last year with 2 wins, right? Yeah, I need 6 points to win. I'm at 1. I need to win 5 games. Call that easy, right? We have 9 rounds. I need to win. We have 6 more rounds. I have to win 5 games. I have to win 5 games. I only have the liberty of drawing 1 more game, but I have to win 5 games. I lose 1 game, it's still fine, but I can't draw anymore. From this point on, I just have to. So guys, thank you so much. This video will come quite late because I don't want people to see my games and see what's happening to me right now. It will come maybe like Tuesday. But thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day. I'll see you. Peace.